Picture this. You're standing at the edge of a quiet lake. No rush hour, no echo of phones or deadlines, just the hush of water brushing against the shore. The air carries a hint of pine. Somewhere nearby, a screen door creaks open, and a neighbor calls out a warm, "Morning." Now contrast that with what most of us wake up to. The drone of traffic, the rising cost of everything, and that strange feeling that peace has become a luxury. But here's the quiet truth. It hasn't vanished. There are still towns in America where life moves slower, not smaller, where a porch light still means welcome, and a home doesn't cost a lifetime of debt. Places where neighbors are names, not noise, and weekends feel like they once did. Easy, simple, yours. In this journey, we'll wander through 10 lake towns that prove serenity and affordability can share the same shoreline. From misty mornings in the Midwest to sunset harbors in the South, these are communities that hold more than beauty. They hold balance. We'll talk numbers, yes, the homes, the rents, the realities, but we'll also talk about how it feels to live there. Because what we're really searching for isn't just a house by the water, it's a life that still feels human. And stay close. The town at number 1 might just change how you picture home. At number 10, we arrive in Hot Springs, Arkansas, a lakeside retreat where healing waters meet honest living. This is the kind of town that seems to exhale when you do, tucked between forested hills and the soft rhythm of southern air. Hot Springs carries its name like a promise. Steam still drifts from the century-old bathhouses that once drew weary travelers looking for renewal. And in many ways, that same spirit lingers. Today, it's less about cure and more about calm, a place where people come to slow down without stopping entirely. Homes here average around $215,000, Zillow 2025 estimate, and rent for a cozy apartment near the lake can sit between $950 and $1,200. The cost of living is roughly 12% below the national average, which means your budget stretches further, maybe toward that kayak, that local art class, or a weekend dinner downtown where live blues floats through the open doors. This is a relaxed, artistic, and friendly community, the kind of place where everyone knows the local sculptor or the woman who makes the best pie at the Saturday market. It's a haven for retirees, artists, and small business owners who want pace without pretense. Of course, like any beautiful place, it has its quirks. Summer tourists bring a little congestion with their curiosity, and job options lean toward hospitality and service rather than corporate ladders. But for many, that's the very trade-off that makes it peaceful. Evenings here are pure cinema, steam rising over the stone baths, the lake glowing pink at dusk, and the hills folding gently into shadow. Hot Springs isn't just affordable living, it's living that still remembers how to breathe. Number 9 takes us north, to Sandpoint, Idaho, where mountain air meets mirror-clear water. It's the kind of place that feels like a secret whispered between the pines. A small Pacific Northwest town wrapped in forest and framed by peaks, with a lake so deep and clear it almost seems to hold the sky itself. Here, Lake Pound Oreille is the heart of everything, vast, still, and impossibly blue. Locals swim in it, sail across it, or simply sit beside it with a cup of coffee, watching the mist lift off its surface like a curtain revealing the day. Homes in Sandpoint average around $398,000, Zillow 2025 estimate, while rent ranges between $1,050 and $2,400. The cost of living runs about 5% below the national average. But the real wealth here is in space, the kind you feel in your lungs and in your schedule. It's an outdoorsy, independent, and warm community, perfect for remote workers, families, and anyone who measures time by seasons instead of deadlines. Sandpoint offers year-round rhythm, snow-dusted winters for skiing and wood fires, breezy summers for sailing and slow walks through the farmers market. The schools are strong, the streets are safe, and neighbors wave not because they have to, but because they still do. It isn't without challenges. Housing can be tight, as second-home buyers and newcomers discover what locals have long known, that this little town is rare. And winters? They're long, gray, and unapologetic. But there's beauty even in that, when you're watching snowflakes fall over still water and knowing you're exactly where you're meant to be. Picture it. Snow-tipped peaks mirrored in the lake, locals sipping coffee at the marina, breath visible in the crisp morning air. Sandpoint is more than a town. It's a pause button that actually works. At number 8, we wander into Eureka Springs, Arkansas, an artsy mountain lake town where every house seems to tell a story. It's a town that looks like it was painted rather than built, carved into the green folds of the Ozarks, with stair-step streets, winding stone paths, and a heartbeat that hums with creativity. Here, Victorian architecture meets Ozark wilderness, and somehow the two get along beautifully. Balconies draped in ivy overlook narrow streets lined with boutiques, art galleries, and little cafes that smell like cinnamon and cedar. You might come for the beauty of nearby Beaver Lake, but you stay for the feeling, a blend of acceptance, eccentricity, and homegrown warmth. The median home price hovers around $240,000, Zillow 2025 estimate, and rent typically ranges from $900 to $1,100. Add in a cost of living roughly 15% below the national average, and you've got an affordable life with an extraordinary view. The town's vibe is creative, inclusive, and bohemian, drawing artists, retirees, and LGBTQ+ residents who shape a community that celebrates individuality as easily as it welcomes newcomers. Days here unfold at their own rhythm. A morning stroll downtown might turn into a conversation about local art or a spontaneous folk jam spilling out from a cafe. Weekends bring festivals, galleries, and laughter echoing up the hills. Eureka Springs isn't perfect. Its steep streets can challenge your knees, and access to healthcare and schools is limited. But for those who value character over convenience, that's a small price for a place so rich in charm. As the sun sinks, colorful cottages glow under golden Ozark light, and you realize this isn't a town that follows trends. It's a town that writes them, softly, authentically, and always by hand. Number 7 takes us north again, this time to Bemidji, Minnesota, the first city on the Mississippi and a hidden northern classic. It's the kind of town that carries the rhythm of the Midwest, steady, genuine, and quietly proud of its roots. Set among pine forests and more lakes than you can count, Bemidji feels both timeless and alive. You'll find fishermen heading out before sunrise, college students pedaling along the lakeside trail, and neighbors clearing snow from each other's driveways. Not because they have to, but because that's what people do here. This is a place where home still feels attainable. The median home price sits around $220,000, Zillow 2025 estimate, with rents averaging between $850 and $1,050. The cost of living is about 13% below the national average, which means you can build a life without the constant weight of financial strain. Bemidji's vibe is family-oriented, friendly, and down-to-earth, a community built on trust and small joys. It's ideal for families, teachers, and medical professionals, drawn by good schools, a regional university, and a sense of safety that feels almost nostalgic. Here, the seasons rule the schedule. In summer, the lakes shimmer with life, kayaking, swimming, or lazy days at Diamond Point Park. By winter, everything slows under a white hush, but the town doesn't sleep. It adapts. There's ice fishing, snowmobiling, and that rare kind of silence you can actually hear. The trade-offs are real. Winters are harsh, and nightlife fades early. But what you gain in peace, you rarely find elsewhere. Picture this: ice fishing huts scattered across a frozen lake, smoke rising from chimneys as dusk settles over the snow. In Bemidji, life isn't fast, but it's full, steady, and deeply human. At number 6, we're heading deep into Greenville, Maine, the quiet gateway to the wild north, where Moosehead Lake reigns supreme. This isn't a place you stumble upon. It's a place you seek. The road winds through miles of pine and birch until the trees open, revealing a lake so vast and untouched, it feels almost sacred. Here, raw beauty and old-school New England grit meet affordable serenity. It's the kind of town where you can still find clapboard houses with wood stoves burning through the night and neighbors who stop to chat on a snowy road just to make sure you're doing all right. The median home price sits near $235,000, Zillow 2025 estimate, with rents between $800 and $1,000, and a cost of living roughly 10% below the national average. That means you can live comfortably, surrounded by a view that, anywhere else, would cost millions. The community here is adventurous, quiet, and tight-knit, perfect for retirees, writers, or remote workers who trade convenience for calm. Days move gently, but deliberately. Summers are crisp and full of color. Fall arrives like an artist with a bold brush. Winters are long, a white wilderness stretching to the horizon. But to the people here, that's part of the rhythm, not a hardship. Greenville doesn't boast much in the way of services, and the nearest city is hours away. But that remoteness is the very reason so many find peace here. It's a reset, a return to the basics, where silence is golden and time feels generous again. Picture it, a lone canoe gliding through morning mist, the surface of Moosehead Lake still as glass, framed by towering pines. Greenville doesn't shout for attention. It just waits, quietly, for the kind of soul who listens. Number 5 brings us to Bayfield, Wisconsin, a harbor town where the Great Lakes somehow feel intimate. Here on the shores of Lake Superior, the world's largest freshwater lake shrinks to something personal. A hand reaching from the dock, the soft creak of a moored sailboat, a breeze carrying the scent of cherries and pine. Bayfield is a postcard brought to life. A harbor town of sailboats, orchards, and timeless Midwest calm. Summers hum with quiet charm, farmers markets, kayaking around the Apostle Islands, and the sound of local musicians drifting through open windows. By winter, the rhythm softens. The tourists go home, the lake freezes to glass, and the town exhales. The median home price hovers near $265,000, Zillow 2025 estimate, and rents run around $950 to $1,200. With a cost of living roughly 11% below the national average, Bayfield offers the rare luxury of living simply and beautifully at once. The community here is charming, seasonal, and locally driven, best suited for retirees, nature lovers, and anyone who believes peace is an active pursuit. There's plenty to savor. The vibrant arts scene, the festivals that turn Main Street into a celebration of small-town life, and the endless invitation of the water, sailing, swimming, or just sitting still beside it. Of course, the stillness comes with trade-offs. Winters are quiet, almost too quiet, and the closest major healthcare centers are a long drive away. But for many, that isolation is part of the poetry. Imagine it now. Sailboats swaying gently under a sunset sky streaked with lavender and gold. The dock lights flickering one by one as night folds over the lake. In Bayfield, time doesn't rush, it ripples. At number 4, we glide into Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. A lakeside jewel that's every bit as beautiful as its postcards, yet far more lived in than its luxury reputation suggests. This is where upscale beauty meets genuine community, where glassy water reflects pine-covered mountains, and life finds a rare balance between elegance and ease. Set along the edge of Lake Coeur d'Alene, the town feels like a perfect mix of resort energy and small-town soul. Morning joggers trace the waterfront trail, while paddleboarders drift across the still surface, and by afternoon, cafes hum with quiet conversation and the smell of roasted espresso. It's scenic, yes, but also deeply human. The median home price sits around $475,000, Zillow 2025 estimate, with rents between $400 and $1,700. The cost of living is roughly on par with the national average, but what you get for that money is rare. Clean air, safety, and a pace that never feels frantic. The vibe here is active, safe, and welcoming, drawing families, retirees, and professionals who want community as much as comfort. It's a town that rewards those who spend time outdoors, hiking, sailing, skiing, or simply breathing it all in. The schools are excellent, the hospitals modern. And yet, despite its polish, Coeur d'Alene still feels neighborly. People here say hello on trails, lend tools, share sunsets. There are trade-offs, of course. Housing costs have risen, and summer tourism can make the lakeshore lively, sometimes too lively. But even then, there's always a quiet cove or wooded trail to retreat to, where the noise fades and the water glitters like cut glass. Picture it: sunlight rippling across the lake, paddleboarders drifting by the forested shore, the air still enough to hear laughter from the docks. Coeur d'Alene may sparkle like a resort, but it beats with the steady heart of a hometown. At number 3, we arrive at Lake Lure, North Carolina, a cinematic Carolina escape where blue ridges fold around a lake that seems to glow from within. This is southern stillness with a movie star past, a place where time lingers like the mist that drifts across the water each morning. You might recognize it: the graceful curve of the lake, the backdrop of the Dirty Dancing finale, that blend of nostalgia and charm. But Lake Lure isn't just a memory. It's a living, breathing town that's quietly perfected the art of simple beauty. Here, homes average around $310,000, Zillow 2025 estimate, and rents run between $1,000 and $2,300. The cost of living is roughly 8% below the national average, which means you can wake up to mountain views without mountain prices. The community is peaceful, close-knit, and scenic, drawing retirees, remote workers, and second home seekers who crave space without isolation. Days here unfold like a slow song, gentle, familiar, and full of small pleasures. Mornings might mean coffee on the porch as fog curls above the water. Afternoons bring the hum of boats and children's laughter echoing between the hills. By evening, the whole town seems to pause as the light turns the lake to gold. The trade-offs are easy to name, but harder to mind. The job market is limited, and summers can be heavy with humidity. Yet the warmth of the people matches the climate, and that kindness becomes its own form of wealth. Picture it now: golden hour glinting off mirrored water, the Blue Ridge Mountains folding softly in the distance. Lake Lure isn't just a retreat. It's a reminder that peace can still be part of everyday life, not just a weekend wish. Number 2 takes us to Traverse City, Michigan, the lakeside heart of northern Michigan's good life. Here, cherry orchards meet craft breweries, and clear turquoise bays shimmer beneath skies so wide they seem to hold every season at once. Traverse City is that rare blend of small-town ease and quiet sophistication. You'll find farmers tending orchards just beyond downtown, while locals sip cold brews beside the marina. It's a town that balances work and wonder, where weekdays feel purposeful and weekends spill easily into adventure. The median home price hovers around $350,000, Zillow 2025 estimate, with rents typically between $200 and $2,400. The cost of living sits about 6% below the national average, making it surprisingly attainable for a place with this much character. The vibe is lively, family-friendly, and outdoorsy, perfect for remote professionals, families, and retirees who crave both connection and calm. At the center of it all lies Grand Traverse Bay, a stretch of water so blue and clear it looks like it belongs in the Caribbean. Summers bring kayaks, paddleboards, and music festivals that light up the waterfront. Winters, though snowy, turn the town into a cozy postcard, fireplaces glowing in cafes, neighbors greeting each other by name. Traverse City is built on balance. It's cultured but humble, busy but never frantic. And while tourism can nudge prices up in the summer, locals know how to retreat to quieter corners. A trail, a dune, or a hidden stretch of beach where the lake hums softly in the wind. Picture it now: kayaks slicing through crystalline water, downtown lights flickering just beyond the dunes. Traverse City doesn't shout its beauty, it just lives it every single day. And at number 1, we find Murray, Kentucky, a lakeside town that proves affordability can still feel like abundance. Here, life moves with a calm, deliberate rhythm, shaped by Kentucky Lake's endless shoreline, and the heartbeat of a small college community that still believes in neighborly kindness. Murray isn't flashy, and that's precisely its strength. It's a town that feels steady, the kind of place where people wave from passing trucks, the coffee shop remembers your order, and time seems to bend just enough to make room for conversation. Homes here average around $190,000, Zillow 2025 estimate, and rents range between $800 and $950, with a cost of living nearly 18% below the U.S. average. That's not just affordable, that's accessible. It's the difference between surviving and actually living. The community vibe is friendly, practical, and genuine, making it ideal for families, teachers, and retirees looking for a place that values connection over competition. Life in Murray revolves around simple pleasures. The hum of Murray State University brings culture and youth to the town, concerts, art fairs, and local sports under the lights. And when the day winds down, there's always the pull of the lake, a place to fish, paddle, or simply sit in silence as the water folds itself into the horizon. Sure, summers get humid and nightlife fades early, but the trade-off is pure peace. You gain mornings where mist clings to the water, and evenings when the sound of church bells carries across the still air. Picture it, sunset reflections rippling over calm water, the world softening as lights blink on across the shore. Murray may not be famous, but in a noisy world, it offers something far rarer, a life that feels full, steady, and quietly golden. Murray, Kentucky, reminds us of something quietly powerful. This isn't about living cheap, it's about living enough. Enough space to breathe, enough kindness to feel known, enough beauty to wake up grateful, not exhausted. For years, the American housing dream has drifted farther from reach, swallowed by high costs and crowded skylines. But out here, by the water's edge, that dream still feels possible, not through excess, but through balance. These lake towns whisper a different kind of success story, one that measures wealth in sunsets, laughter, and the sound of oars dipping into morning light. From the mirrored bays of Sandpoint to the steaming springs of Hot Springs, each town carries its own rhythm, slower, softer, more honest. Together, they remind us that home isn't a number on a listing. It's a feeling in your chest when you realize you've stopped rushing. Because what ties these places together isn't price, it's integrity. A kind of dignity that doesn't need to shout to be heard. And maybe that's the real luxury after all. A slower morning, a smaller mortgage, and a life that finally fits your shape again. So, maybe peace was never lost. Maybe it's been sitting quietly beside the water all along, waiting for you to slow down enough to see it. Because geography can heal us in ways we forget. The rhythm of a slower town, the warmth of a shared smile at the market, the kind of silence that isn't empty at all, but full of life, of stillness, of meaning. Which of these lakeside towns spoke to you the most? And why? Tell us in the comments. We love hearing the stories behind your dreams. And if calm storytelling and real-world escapes speak to you, consider subscribing. It helps this small, growing community keep exploring the kind of places that remind us what home can feel like. Out here, we're not chasing fantasies. We're rediscovering reality, the kind that smells like rain on pine, looks like sunrise on still water, and costs less than you feared. For real-world escapes, not fantasies.